Okay, I'm going to start with the basics. So my name is Hussain Currimbhoy. Uh, my occupation is filmmaker, programmer, film curator. Um, favorite color, probably dark blue. Spirit animal. I am an animal. Favorite movie. I mean, this is a hard question. Favorite movie. It's probably a toss-up between Heat by Michael Mann, Uzak by Nuri Ceylan. This is a Turkish film from about 10 years ago. Beautiful film. Portrait of Jason by Shirley Clark, a documentary, which if you haven't seen, I'll try to include a link somewhere in the video so you can check it out. It's a masterpiece. Um, and last favorite film would probably be Senna, the documentary by Asif Kapadia about the racing car driver. You know, I can't help myself. I just love these films. And you asked, so I'm telling you. So the question is, what really is film curating, film programming? Well, I'll tell you, film programming and curating is really a lot of fun. Um, if you love movies, it's the best thing in the world because you get to watch all kinds of different styles and forms and genres and short films, long films, documentaries, animation. You can watch all this stuff as part of your everyday life. And in a way, you kind of get to travel. You get to travel through all these cultures and ideas and philosophies, and you travel through time in some ways to to me do what is the impossible, and that is to experience the world through someone else's eyes. You know, that's what good art should do. And to me, that's what good filmmaking is when you get to experience the world, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. And what does it really come down to? What does film curation mean? Well, you can do it for a film festival. You can curate programs for a festival. You can curate programs for an art gallery, for a music festival, for an online channel. It's basically just arranging, it's basically selecting and arranging really good films to offer an audience a context to understand the films better or to enjoy the films in a different way. Um, the question is, what can a film really become with the right curating? What is a film without curating? That's a good question. So if a film is placed in the right context and is given the right launch, perhaps wins a prize, or gets the right buzz happening around it, where the right people are talking about it and people are excited about a movie, then you'll get the attention uh, of other producers who want to make something. And maybe they like what this filmmaker has made and will give them a chance to make something else. Um, that that's one great result of film of when film programming is done well, you know. Um, the other that happens also because of passionate programmers. Most of the ones that I know, you know, live, breathe, and sleep programming and live their lives around watching films and trying to get the most out of a film and to help filmmakers as much as possible. You know, the ones that I know that I have worked with over the years, they spend, you know, a lot of time researching, watching, understanding, reading about films to give their program a really good edge. On like, we've seen everything, and this is the best of this kind of film here. You know, but that comes from people who are dedicated and passionate, who travel constantly, who champion films, and who be a kind of an advocate for certain filmmakers. You know, and that's what really good curating can do. When that all comes together and a film launches right, and you get attention, you get press writing about you in a way that really helps your future projects and gets people thinking about you in a new way. That's when it can be successful. When it's really good and the audience loves it and it's a big, you know, screening and everyone's having a great time and you have a good Q&A after the film, that brings another dimension of how you think as an artist and as a filmmaker, and brings stories around the film into the audiences, into the conversation, then you might get a good sale and you might get picked up by one of these wonderful streaming companies out there that give you a worldwide audience in a matter of a push of a button and a decent paycheck as well. That's when it's great, when you make this discovery at a festival, um, and it pops. Like I speak from a film festival background, so for me, it's about trying to market a program, which I think is key. Why do you send your film to a festival? Yes, you want recognition. Yes, you want to have prestige in some cases, but really, you also want to have a career. You also want to do good work, and that comes from people seeing your film and your film getting distribution and being seen and being sold and being talked about. So at a festival, you have a kind of a critical mass of sales agents and press and audience, who come together to see new stuff. And uh, the art of arrangement means that you are giving the films a big launch. Together, these new films have an energy that can pop, and certain magazines will write about them, or papers, or certain journalists who look for these kinds of films. So it's quite important to have that right, to have a good strategy, to have a good plan as to how you want to build this strand. If it's a first-time filmmaker strand or one about the environment, how do you want it to build? Do you want to add a prize to it? Maybe add a cash prize to it? Have a high-profile jury to it? Only play those films on certain days because that's when the best, that's when the most of the people in the industry are around. You have to be able to make it a place of discovery too. So when those people are there, they get excited about, oh, this is like something new that maybe will take me, my imagination somewhere else new. You know, you can't think about awards and stuff too much, like about big award campaigns around at this stage. It's true that some films that do launch out of certain programs, they certainly do have a very good chance at reaching certain award strategy cycles, let's just say. But really, it's about trying to do the best you can for a film, so the film is understood properly, and that comes from the context and how it's selected and arranged. So the next question now is, yeah, how many films do I watch a year, and how do you stay sane? How do you stay in shape? Well, at the peak of the programming season, you're watching, three or 400 films across the year, like between 500 and 600 films across a year. That does not include what I watch on airplanes, and does not include what you watch in the cinema, and does not include what you watch just for fun. So just for work, it's like between 500 films, say 500 films a year. And it's a real, like, it takes time to understand how that process can be exploited so that you are not losing your mind. You have to control it. And it took me years to learn, but it was like, really strict time regiments where you have like several slots a day, 5 slots a day, between 7 and 9, 9 and 12, 10, 11, 11 and 1, etc., until the next morning, 2, 1, 2 in the morning, where you're scheduling screenings and films. In between that, you're taking notes and having calls with other programmers. So it's quite an intense thing. So you, for me, I just drank a lot of tea. I did not really drink very much. I didn't. I stopped eating meat for a while because otherwise you just start, like, getting sluggish, and you have to manage your energy levels. You have to, like, just kind of change your diet so that you're not getting sleepy all the time at inordinate times. Um, Exercise is super important. You got to make time for that too. This is those, it's like a good, like, 12 weeks of really intense work. And if you're off and you're not working the best you can, you might miss something, because I mean, there are times when you're watching a film and you're just not in the mood for this kind of film, and you just, you turn it off, and you might come back later, and then you try it again. You go, okay, now I'm with you. Now I get it. I understand what's going on here, that takes, sometimes a couple of tries because you're exhausted from watching so much. Um, that's how I used to manage it. You could just, tie yourself to a bed and put toothpicks under your eyes and wait till it's all over and have someone feed you with a spoon and a straw just of liquefied avocado. That's also fine. You can do that if you want to. So the question here is, what's the weirdest film I've seen? I think the weird one I've seen is probably the Flying Lotus film. called Kuso from like 2015 or something, or 16, which was super weird, but not in an unwatchable way. It was very imaginative, super creative. I love the imagery in the film. I love the way he connects the music and the imagery. He draws from so much inspiration. He draws from African American art. He draws from literature, from music, obviously, and from his favorite films. The guy's a massive cinephile and did a great job at trying to connect these ideas and themes that were just like a dreamscape. It was very much about a subconscious dreamscape that he brought to life. And it was very weird, never boring, compelling for sure. Some folks were wanting to vomit during the film. There are some gross scenes. This is true. But when I see an Adam Sandler film, I feel the same way. I still watch it, but I want to puke. And this film does make you want to puke, but it's stunningly original and a really a real riot of fun to watch because you don't know where the film is going. You don't know what the story is going to lead to. It's unpredictable, and that's a vital key to getting your film into a festival, is being unpredictable in a storyline, making sense in the end to a point, but also giving the audience something to kind of to be on the edge of their seat about. This question is, film and culture is kind of, hard or tough. How do you manage to stay so nice and curious? That's so nice of you to say. I'm not that nice. Believe me, I can, Um, but nice and curious, I suppose it's like, um, how do I, how do I be nice and curious? I don't know. I feel like there really is no point, in being rude about things or being aggressive about things unless, this is really important. And I suppose, when you do this kind of a job, people who do well at it, I think, are the ones who care a lot about the films and filmmakers. They really care a lot. And if you're lucky, people around you also care about the films and the work. And they're there for the reasons that you are there, because you want to share good work. You want to, you know, offer new ideas to your community. You want to share the feeling of excitement that you have with other people. When you don't have that and people around you are just there just to experiment with this job or for the money, which is rare because the money isn't that good, then it becomes frustrating, But I think what I found, over the years is those who have a long career in filmmaking and programming, those who actually do this properly for a long time are often nice people, and they are attentive and they are curious and they want to hear about what you have to say, no matter who you are. If you're an usher at the cinema or you're a producer, they want to hear about what it's like for you. And I saw that early on, working in film festivals in Australia, in Britain, in the United States, in the Middle East. I saw that people who have done it for a long time, they don't really have time to be mean or rude or to be closed-minded, because then you're going to miss something. And the more like points of view that you have coming to you, that you think that are valuable and different, the more rich I think your work is as a programmer. You can find perspectives in films because of what you've heard, who you've talked to, what you've seen, where you've been. It just informs how you read films, and that has to be a constantly evolving thing. You always have to be checking yourself and updating how you watch stuff and trying to keep in touch with culture and with time. And if you're mean to people and you're rude and stuff, then A, no one's gonna want to work with you, and B, you're gonna um, have a disconnect between yourself and culture. If you aren't talking to people and getting them to and being able to use their point of view to feed your own work, then you're gonna miss something, and that's not a great place to be. So I think a passion for what you're doing and an understanding that what you're doing is for others in the end Programming is for other people. It's not really for you, it's for people. When you got that in your head and you can work with that, then you're going to have an easier time getting things done. And being nice also helps you get things done, in my experience. Ask Rupert Murdoch, he might tell you a different story. But to me, that's the point of it, and that's what's fulfilling, and that's what's about trying to spread some kind of positivity out there, and spreading things that are good and not about being negative. That just gets you nowhere.